Voting in the U.S. helps us come to a conclusion on who should be in office or what should be implemented. Americans first began the custom of weekday voting in 1845 when Congress passed a federal law designating the first Tuesday following the first Monday in November as Election Day. To vote today, you have to be 18, a U.S. citizen, either by birth or naturalization, and meet your state's legal residency requirements. Registering to vote can be as easy as meeting these requirements and taking 5 minutes out of your day to register online. The Motor Voter Act of 1993 also makes it easier to vote since they can register when doing common tasks like getting or renewing your license. Voting didn't used to be this easy for some people. Even though the 15th Amendment made it illegal for the federal or state government to deny any U.S. citizen the right to vote, it was still difficult for some. Before the Voting Rights Act of 1965, people like blacks, other minorities, and the less wealthy could not take part in registering or voting in elections. They kept people from voting by setting rules and practices like literacy tests, poll taxes, white primaries, and the grandfather clauses. Women were also not eligible to vote until 1920 when the 19th Amendment was passed. Another important amendment was the 26th. This put the voting age to 18 and the U.S. citizen could not be denied the right to vote on account of age. Before this amendment, voters had to be 21 to vote. So if voting is so easy for U.S. citizens in today's time, then why do some people not vote? Can you please state your name and age?
Sarah, and I'm 37.
Okay, Sarah, do you vote in elections?
I did at the age of 18 and I stopped voting in 2008.
Why do you choose not to vote? And was there any incident in your voting experience that persuaded you to stop voting?
Yes. In 2008, I actually did vote, and that was the last time I voted. And before I got home, they had already announced who the president was, so I felt that after I had voted, that my vote didn't really matter.
Okay. And what advice would you give younger kids deciding to vote or not?
I would say definitely look into it, do your research, and not listen to everybody else's opinions, and vote for how you believe.
All right, thank you, Sarah. Some people feel that it is their responsibility as a citizen to vote. This is defined as civic duty. State your name and age.
My name is Mark Kuykendall. I'm almost 69 years old.
All right, do you vote in elections?
I do.
Why do you think it's important to vote?
Well, I guess most importantly, our country was founded on the fact that people were allowed to make a vote that would represent the overall majority. And if your point of view was part of the majority, then your point of view would carry.
Okay. And what would you tell young kids that are deciding whether to vote or not?
If a person wants to vote, I think that it's important that they understand that lots of people have gone before them and voted, and there have been people who have actually fought wars. They've died in an effort to keep our way of life viable.
Okay, thank you, Mark. The typical voter today is a 35-year-old, white, well-educated female, while on the other hand, the least likely to vote is Hispanic, male, 18, with very little education. Citizens with a higher socioeconomic status are confident that they have the knowledge and skills to influence government and that the government will listen to people like them, so they are more likely to vote than someone with a lower socioeconomic status. Many people will ask why candidates win presidencies when they did not win the popular vote. Does my vote really matter? Our answer to this question is yes. Your vote does matter, but established in Article 2, Section 1 of the Constitution is the formal body that elects the president and the vice president, the Electoral College. When voters go to the polls in a presidential election, they are actually voting for the slate of electors vowing to cast their ballots for that ticket in the Electoral College. They created the Electoral College because the Founding Fathers did not have faith that the Americans would be knowledgeable enough to make the right decision for America. Another reason would be because it balances the interests of the high population and low population states. Electors are not legally bound to vote for their party's nominee. Some states have laws that prevent these faithless electors from voting differently. So with that, these laws might not be held up in court since the Constitution protects the elector's right to vote differently. Given this information, some wish to have a direct voting law, which would basically get rid of our electoral college. Voting is something that is important to our everyday lives since it affects the way the government works. Voting has been around since our founding fathers, and the idea of voting will probably never go away.